Hey guys, Maniac here with another favourites list. I'm a huge fan of arcades, so I'm always on the lookout for console ports. Here's just a few of my favourites. Ridge Racer is always fun to play in the arcades, no matter what version. The first course from the first Ridge Racer always seems to be in every arcade version. Naturally, I'd say the original Ridge Racer for PlayStation is my favourite for this reason, but that version is absolute gash once you've played the high-spec demo that came with Ridge Racer Type 4. It's that same course but with a huge update. When developing Type 4, Namco really tried to push the performance out of the console by aiming for 60 frames per second and the best graphics seen on the PlayStation to date. Unfortunately, it meant that a lot of things would have been stripped down, so the dream was eventually scrapped. They didn't want the development to be a total loss though, so they added this high-spec demo to show what it could have been. It's absolutely beautiful and is a lot closer to the arcade version than what the original Ridge Racer for PlayStation was. It runs at 60 frames per second in NTSC and 50 in PAL, so the gameplay is a lot smoother and feels faster. The graphics are a big improvement. They look a lot smoother, possibly at a higher resolution, and don't have as much issues in the connected textures as the original did. It's a shame that a lot of PlayStation arcade ports suffer from these visual issues, as for me, the 90s was the real peak of great arcade games and the ports just slightly failed to deliver. This is a rare example of what could have been. The Deadstone Pirates cabinet is huge, so I'm glad this got ported. It's a lot of fun on 2-player, and a friend and I must have spent a fair few quid each on it. It comes as part of Time Crisis Rising Storm for PlayStation 3, and it's a perfect arcade port. The game itself has some interesting features that were also used in other Sega arcades, such as Let's Go Jungle. You can choose which order you play through the levels, so you can get a chance to try out all the levels if you play the cabinet multiple times. At certain points in the levels, you have to turn the wheel to avoid obstacles. This is pulled off in the PlayStation port by circling the tip of your move controller or gun free like an absolute idiot. In 2-player, the game scores you on how well you work together, so it's not a case of trying to get the most kills, but rather making sure your teammate takes little damage. The game is great on single player, but just like the arcade, it's a lot more fun with a mate to really take advantage of the combo shots. I'm pretty sure I played Daytona USA in the arcades back in the day, but I most recently played it at last year's NERG. The Saturn port is pretty much a carbon copy of the arcade. The same 3 courses and difficulties are there to choose from, and there's not a whole lot extra added. This can be a good thing and a bad thing though, as it's easy to pick up and play for half an hour if you like, but there's not a lot to it, so you might find yourself bored of it pretty quickly. It's not just a straight arcade port though, as there's the added Saturn mode, which takes away the timer, which can sometimes be quite annoying in the arcade mode, and also adds in 2 extra cars to choose from and the ability to play the courses in mirror mode. It plays just like the arcade with a slight slowdown and graphical suffering, but the soundtrack is still there, which is one of the great things with these Sega arcade ports. Crazy Taxi is always a fun game to play, whether it's in the arcade or at home. I had a great time playing this at NERG both years with a few mates. Like any good arcade game, it's perfect for picking up and playing for either half an hour or as long as you like. It's great being able to play the cab driver and ignoring the rules of the road. It's such a great concept of a game, which is what made it so original and popular. The console ports add some mini games to help shake things up a bit. Crazy Jump is a lot of fun and was later implemented into the standard controls of Crazy Taxi 2. The soundtrack is a real defining aspect of the game. Anyone who has played Crazy Taxi instantly recognises the tracks. The soundtrack solely consists of The Offspring and Bad Religion, arguably the 2 biggest American punk rock bands of the 90s. It makes me feel like I'm 14 again every time I play it, so there's a lot of nostalgia here for me. The PlayStation 2 port was the first one I played, but the game just feels right on the Dreamcast. After all, the Dreamcast was modelled on the Naomi hardware, that's why all the Dreamcast arcade ports are always spot on. I used to be a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and my favourite one is Mortal Kombat 2.
Round 1, fight.
I had a hard time really deciding on my favourite port of the game. I had the Mega Drive version as a kid, had more memories of playing the SNES version, and even played a bit of it on Midway's Arcade Treasures on PS2. It was only just last year when I bought Mortal Kombat Collection on Steam, and it is definitely one of the better ports that I've played in a long time. As part of the collection, you get the original Mortal Kombat and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 too, the best three from the series in my opinion. It looks and feels almost perfect in the arcade. The sprites are nice and big, the gameplay is nice and fluent, even the difficulty is there too, which got turned down near enough straight away, as the AI in this likes to be a bit brutal and unforgiving. All the sound effects from the arcade are there too, which are sometimes missed out or replaced in console ports. As great as this port is, you just can't beat standing at the original cabinet with the arcade controls. I'll have to build myself an arcade stick for PC with some authentic parts. I guess it would come in handy for MAME too. The last port for this video is Ghost Squad. Now I never played it in an actual arcade, but I did play the cabinet a fair bit, even after buying it on the Wii. It looks and plays the same as the arcade, which is always a great thing. You can get just as much enjoyment in single player as you do in two player, so you don't necessarily need a mate to really get the most out of the game. The great thing about the Wii is that the controller is perfect for light gun games. It feels a lot better if you have a zapper or something similar though. You can choose what order you play the missions in, and if you stick to just the same mission, it'll gradually increase in difficulty the more times you play it. What sets this game apart from other light gun games are the special events during the missions. You either have to rescue hostages, disarm a bomb, or become a sniper. Again, these sections increase in difficulty the more times you play, really testing your reflexes and memory. One of my favourite additions to the Wii port is the customise option. It gives you a real reason to save your progress and replay the game over and over. You can unlock weapons and costumes to give your guy a bit of a personal flair. Not a lot of light gun games really do this. It's a shame really, because it's a great way to increase the replayability of these light gun games. I've got many more arcade ports on my favourites list, so I will be doing more of these in the future. Let me know what some of your favourite arcade ports are in the comment section below, and thanks for watching. I'll see you again in another video soon.